This story started from these two pieces. Just look at them. This is the same material. Both white one and pink one are from pure merino. I used the same needles, same stitch, same hands. But see, one looks nice and structured, but the other is kind of loose. The pink one bounces back nicely, but the white one doesn't. So how do I make the white one hold the ribbing and spring back and look decent? How to improve those ugly stitches?
Hey guys, my name is Lena and I've been crocheting and knitting for 40 years now. And you know, this channel, it's not about grabbing a yarn, blindly following a pattern and having something done. But no, it's rather about understanding why we would use this or that technique. Why would we choose this or that material? So in this video, I will tell you a story of a particular project where I had a problem and how did I solve that problem using certain approaches and techniques and materials. So if you're interested in diving a little bit deeper into the logic of knitting, into the process, into the materials theory, this is the right place for you to stay. So the question today is how to make this ribbing look better. The first and the most obvious answer here is to downsize the needles. The manufacturer recommended 2.5 millimeter, but see, here we have too much air with 2.5 millimeter and the holes are a little bit too big. But the problem is, in fact, there are two problems. The first one is that not many manufacturers offer 2.0 millimeters and thinner needles. And second, you know, I love thin needles and fine yarns, but I'm afraid this time I'm not ready for 200 stitches on my needles for just a head. And I need that one faster than the next winter. So anyway, I realized that there are not many volunteers who want to downsize from 2.5 millimeter needles to thinner. Another obvious thing to do here is to knit in 2 strands. Well, it can totally work out, but in this case, you have to remember that you need to go for thicker needles. So here I might try 3.5 millimeters, something like that. So knitting in 2 strands can totally work out here, but my initial idea for this particular project was a thinner head. And I didn't want it to be chunky, and I had to figure out something else. So I decided to play with some extra threads. These are some white yarns for machine knitting that I own. Very, very fine, very thin, very nice. They all are of the same color, but different materials. And guess what? Only one out of these bobbins can actually work out here. And let me explain why. And another thing I need to tell you, it doesn't mean that the rest are bad. No, not at all. But for this particular project, just one bobbin will work out. First material is silk. Nice, luxurious material. Let's talk about it. This is the silk thread. Can I add a silk thread to my merino wool to thicken the working yarn and stay with those 2.5 millimeter needles instead of downsizing? At first, it sounds amazing. Merino plus silk gives you an amazing feel in theory. Well, in practice too, I mean, it's great for some designs. I've added some silk here for this top, for this one also. But let's get back to the head project. So I added this silk thread, and these are the rows with some silk added. Well, the stitches did become a bit nicer, even by this tiny super lace thread. It makes it, well, it does make difference, okay? But silk, and you have to remember that, is one of the smoothest and one of the most slippery materials in the world, and you have to be very careful with it. Please take a look at the ribbing. This is an actual project. This is a ribbing with merino and silk half by half. So I didn't add just the tiny thread, I added a lot of silk. And this mix, as you see, doesn't hold the ribbing at all because of the silk component. This 50% of silk relaxed the ribbing. See, no structure anymore at all. I mean, I loved the mix. Silk added some subtle sparkle and it's just so soft. It's so nice to wear. But again, we talk about the structure. There's no any. And compare this merino silk structure with thick merino wool. See, it holds the ribbing. I mean, this plain ribbing is totally fine in some cases, for some projects, for particular designs, but we're talking about a head. Now, the second bobbin is linen, pure linen. And here we have pretty much the same issue. See, here's another example I made. Well, it's not a head, but I'm showing you as an example. I've added some linen thread here, a significant part, and it just brought the stitch memory to zero, practically to 0 point. Again, for some project it's great, but not for the head. Would be adding another merino thread a better option? Of course. But again, not in my case, not in this particular one. I've learned it from the experience, and it's not about the material quality, it's about the color. See, the merino bobbin here has this milky undertone. I tried to pair it, and it gives you a kind of a dirty undertone. Like your cold white, your initial cold white is not clean enough when you give this milky undertone. So please remember that and be careful with milking whites, with milky whites or grayish shades of white, because you know it just looks wrong. Adding a merino would be great if I had a good merino shade. So white plus white, merino plus merino, this is what I would go for. So the only option out of my collection here was pairing my merino yarn with some cotton. Not just cotton, but the right color cotton and the right type of cotton. This is Egyptian cotton, and see, it has this fluffy texture. Well, not as fluffy as merino or mohair, but still it does have this fluffy structure. But not all cottons do. See, these two bobbins, they both are cotton. One is fluffy, one is not. So this is Egyptian cotton, and it will work well in this project. So as you see, there are many ways to improve the look of the ribbing. But in this particular project, just one yarn worked out.
Okay, this is the final result, and another very important thing that I need to mention here. This is after washing, and these two materials are machine washable. I mean, it's written on the yarn, and also I know exactly that this cotton and cones can be washed in the machine. So if you are choosing to mix two yarns, make sure that they both are machine washable if you use the machine washing technique, or if one of your yarns is not suitable for machine washing, just do not use it or use hand washing. Now, this is the result. As you see, after washing, the stitches became even nicer. It all looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with the result. The stitches kind of straightened, and it looks overall good. And see, it became a little bit more fluffy, a little nicer. The feel is a little nicer also. So Yeah, this is the result of mixing the yarns thoughtfully, and I hope that it makes sense, and I hope it was interesting. Happy knitting, choose your yarns wisely, and have fun knitting.